What if one of the most famous lost cities in history never existed? A powerful island empire, advanced technology, golden temples, circular canals, and then, in one terrible day and night, it vanished beneath the sea. For more than 2,000 years, people have searched for Atlantis. Some believe it was a real civilization, destroyed by a natural disaster. Others say it was never meant to be history at all, just a warning story created by one of the greatest philosophers of the ancient world. So today, we're asking the big question: was Atlantis real, or was it only a myth? The story of Atlantis begins with Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher who lived around 2,400 years ago. Plato wrote about Atlantis in two dialogues, Timaeus and Critias. In the story, Atlantis was a rich and powerful island kingdom located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which many people interpret as the area near the Strait of Gibraltar. According to Plato, Atlantis was no ordinary island. It was wealthy, organized, and incredibly powerful. Its capital city was built in rings of land and water, almost like a giant target from above. The Atlanteans had ships, armies, temples, and vast resources. But over time, they became greedy and corrupt. Then they tried to conquer Athens. And that is where Plato's story becomes more than just a tale about a lost island. It becomes a story about pride, power, and punishment. In Plato's version, Atlantis was destroyed after losing favor with the gods. The island was struck by earthquakes and floods, and then it disappeared into the sea. That image is unforgettable. An advanced civilization wiped out overnight. But here's the important part. Plato was not writing like a modern historian or archaeologist. He often used stories to explain deeper ideas about politics, morality, and society. In the Atlantis story, Athens represents a disciplined and noble city. Atlantis represents a powerful empire that becomes arrogant and corrupt. That has led many historians to believe Atlantis was not meant to be a literal place. Instead, it may have been a fictional example, a way for Plato to warn that even the strongest civilization can fall if it becomes too greedy. Even though many scholars see Atlantis as a myth, the story has details that make people wonder. Plato describes geography, buildings, military power, canals, metals, kings, temples, and a sudden natural disaster. That level of detail makes Atlantis feel real. And history has shown us that cities really can disappear. Ancient settlements have been buried by volcanic eruptions. Coastal towns have been swallowed by earthquakes and tsunamis. Entire civilizations have declined after climate changes, invasions, or natural disasters. So the idea of a lost city is not impossible. The question is whether Atlantis itself was real, or whether Plato was inspired by real disasters and turned them into a dramatic story. One of the most famous Atlantis theories points to Santorini, also known as Thera. Around the Bronze Age, a massive volcanic eruption devastated the island. It was one of the most violent eruptions in the ancient world. The eruption buried the settlement of Akrotiri under volcanic ash, similar in some ways to how Pompeii was later buried by Mount Vesuvius. Nearby Crete, home of the Minoan civilization, may also have been affected by earthquakes, ash, and tsunamis. This theory is interesting because the Minoans were advanced for their time. They had impressive buildings, trade networks, art, and ships. They lived on islands, and they suffered a major natural disaster. That sounds a lot like parts of the Atlantis story. But there are problems. Santorini is in the Aegean Sea, not beyond the Pillars of Hercules. The timing does not perfectly match Plato's timeline. And the Minoan civilization did not simply vanish overnight. So Santorini may have inspired parts of the Atlantis legend, but it does not prove Atlantis was real. Over the years, people have placed Atlantis almost everywhere. Some have searched near Spain. Others have looked near the Azores. Some have suggested the Bahamas. Others have connected Atlantis to Antarctica, North Africa, or even ancient America. But many of these theories have the same problem. They begin with the desire to find Atlantis, and then try to force the evidence to fit. For example, strange shapes on the ocean floor are sometimes claimed to be roads, walls, or ruins. But in some cases, scientists have explained these as natural rock formations or mapping artifacts. The ocean is still full of mysteries, and large parts of it are not fully explored. But mystery is not the same as evidence. To prove Atlantis was real, archaeologists would need clear signs of a civilization. Buildings, tools, writing, pottery, human remains, or other physical evidence that can be dated and studied. So far, no confirmed archaeological discovery has proven the existence of Plato's Atlantis. So, if Atlantis probably was not real in the way Plato described it, why are we still obsessed with it? Because Atlantis is the perfect mystery. It combines ancient history, lost treasure, natural disaster, forbidden knowledge, and the dream that something incredible might still be hidden beneath the waves. Atlantis also speaks to a fear that every civilization has. The fear that greatness can disappear. Empires fall. Cities are abandoned. Knowledge can be lost. Nature can destroy what humans build. In that sense, Atlantis feels true, even if it was not literally true. It reminds us that no civilization is untouchable. So, what is the verdict? Was Atlantis real? Based on the evidence we have today, Plato's Atlantis was most likely a myth, allegory, or philosophical story, not a proven lost civilization. But that does not mean the story came from nowhere. Plato may have been inspired by real memories of earthquakes, floods, volcanic eruptions, wars, or collapsed civilizations. The Santorini eruption and the Minoan world are possible influences, but they are not definitive proof. So Atlantis may not be a real place waiting to be found. Instead, it may be something even more powerful. A myth built from real human fears. The fear of pride. The fear of collapse. The fear that even the greatest societies can disappear. And maybe that is why Atlantis has survived for more than 2,000 years. Not because we found it, but because we are still afraid of becoming it. So what do you think? Was Atlantis completely invented by Plato? Was it inspired by a real disaster? Or could there still be something hidden beneath the ocean? Comment your theory below. And if you like mysteries from history and science, subscribe for more stories about lost civilizations, ancient disasters, and the questions we still can't fully answer.